I mean,
Why would they?
They seduce you by saying, you know, just give us a title, we're going to give you the money.
Yeah.
They will give you the money, but you will sign, you're going to be signing a document that says, I will pay this back at 500%. Now, if you were in need of the money, obviously you cannot pay it back at that rate.
Right.
So you default on this loan once and you end up paying $30,000 for a $3,000 loan. It doesn't make any sense. So out of necessity, one will enter into a contract
out
that's
of greed.
completely
Out of greed. I think it's out of greed, Rowan.
Greed.
Greed, not
you know
necessity.
what? Most
you don't
times
need to go on
greed.
a damn trip.
Most times it's greed.
It's greed.
It's greed. You're absolutely right. And so now you're going to be on the hook for paying back a loan that, you know, you didn't have the money in the first place. That's why you went there. And now you're stuck with a debt that is way more than the bottom line you borrowed.
Right.
So,
and they can keep your car, like we were talking before we went on the air.
You default on the loan, they can keep your car. And it will be legal. I mean, they signed an agreement. You signed an agreement to do this.
How many months do you get to pay your money back?
It depends on who the company you're borrowing the money from and what the terms of the initial agreement was. And sometimes people, you know, they do the payday
loans, they call it payday loans, yeah.
Yeah, and so by the time you're supposed to get paid, you're not getting any money because it's going to go back to this place that you took out a payday loan from. So, you know, it's a vicious cycle. And out of greed, as Ms. Brown mentioned, or, you know, if there's a rare case that someone absolutely needed this money, you could end up being in a worse position than where you were before you borrowed the money.
You could possibly lose your home, couldn't you?
You could possibly lose your home if you used the house as a collateral. You could possibly lose your car if you use that. Or you could possibly end up with a garnishment if the company or the creditor decides that, you know, you've defaulted on this agreement or the loan, you're not paying them on the time or the amount that you agreed to pay. And
how much time do you get? 60 days, 30 days?
It varies. It could be 30 days, it could be 60, it could be a couple months. You know, it just depends on the amount of money you borrowed and how much time, you know, you told them you would have the ability to repay the loan amount. So, you know, in some cases, people, they're not able to repay, and so they default, and the creditor might eventually end up suing you and getting a judgment. Now, if this happens to you, this is, you know, if the creditor sues you, do not try to avoid it, because this might be your only time to assert any defense that you may have. So if the...
You mean if they send you in a notice, don't try to avoid it and don't look at it.
Go to court.
Because I have a sister who gets a bill, she tears it up and throws it in the trash. She never looks.
Show up to the court.
Yeah.
You know, if something, if the contract was just so unfair, that would be your time to say, you know, Your Honor, you know, this interest rate is ridiculous. It's beyond what Maryland would allow for this. You know, that's your time to assert any defense. Or, I did send a payment. Did they refuse your payment? Did they send it back to you?
Do they have to take it, even if it's not the amount? Do they have to take it? Or
they don't. I mean, if you've missed consecutive payments, 3, 4 payments, and then you send in an amount that's significantly less than what one payment would be, they can reject it at that point and then just sue you.
Because I have a neighbor who said if you owe a debt, even if you send in $1, they've got to accept that $1 and they can't take stuff away from you. And I don't know about that. I don't know.
They do not have to.
They don't have to?
They don't have to, because you've already breached the agreement. You're already in default. So they can then assert their rights. But, you know, let's say your creditor is threatening to repossess your car. You know, Maryland has some different rules, and if, let's say, you do agree to voluntarily turn over the vehicle, the company that has your loan, they will have to, you know, give you certain information, when they're going to sell it, for how much.
Do they have an auction with it? Is that what they do? They auction the cars off?
Yes,
Okay.
sometimes they auction them, or they can sell it for, you know, the fair market value. They cannot then sell it for $1. You know, if it's a Cadillac Escalade, sell
Or
it for $1.
it could be a Beamer, who knows, you know, or Mercedes Benz, who knows.
It has to be at the fair, you know, what a fair value would be. However, some people still get into problems doing this, because if the creditor or the borrower is not able to then obtain the amount you owed, they can seek the difference. So it's called a deficiency. So they can then sue you for the balance.
So even you don't get your car back and you still have to pay it off. So don't do it.
Yep.
Just don't do it. Like they say on TV, just say no to drugs. Say no to these loans.
Say no to these loans.
Say no. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Purchase what you can afford.
And we were talking about all the suicide rates are very, very high now with this.
High suicide rates, because people are, you know, they're in so much debt, credit card debts, medical bills, because most people don't have health insurance.
But they're making themselves sick. The high blood pressure is going up. I talked to a friend of mine. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, heart palpitations, all over money. But most of, I'm not going to say myself, but I'll throw myself in there. I don't want to be biased. But most of us have put ourselves into this.
Correct.
Thanks to George W. Bush.
Slowly.
Slowly, we have just been, we start like a little anthill, just start, and now, boy, we're way above our means. What are we going to do?
I
just can't think about nothing but these credit cards. That's all I think about.
Well, we're not going to commit suicide.
No, but it takes, that's not the answer.
That's not the answer. We're not going to commit suicide. There is help, you know.
And you're there to help and give any help that you possibly can do.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. There is hope, you know, foreclosures, repossessions, garnishments, creditors that are annoying you. There is help. I mean, you don't have to handle this on your own. So if you're in any of these situations, a pending foreclosure, a pending repossession, or even if these events have already occurred, there's still help.
What do you mean there's still help if your home has been taken away from you, or your car?
There's still help. You can move on. You know, you can always declare bankruptcy and get a discharge.
I want to talk about bankruptcy because I've had people ask me about bankruptcy. What is it? What is it?
First, I must say, you know, our country is one of the countries in the world that is absolutely pro-debtor. And, you know, the bankruptcy rules does offer a lot of protection for people who are having financial difficulty.
Even payday loans?
Yes, you can get a discharge.
I'll give you my card till payday.
You can get a discharge on payday loans. Yes.
You can, okay.
Yes, it's an unsecured debt.
We're going to get a lot of mail about this.
Why? We have a lot of viewers that are taking out payday loans.
I don't know, but I'm enjoying this. I really am. So if you even take out that huge loan, there's a way to get your car back then after they've repossessed it?
Yes, there is. You can do what's called a redemption.
Okay, okay.
There's
like confession.
Right. There's a short window of time. So after the creditor has repossessed the car, so they've retaken the property.
But how long do you get to keep your automobile after you take out one of these loans on your title? You get it 60 days, 90 days before they come take it?
If you've defaulted, or
if you haven't made a payment, you just used the money for your trip and you just didn't come back.
Well, they don't just retake it right away. They normally, you know, in their defense, they're sharks, but in their defense,
I like that word, sharks.
They are sharks. In their defense, they do, you know, send notices and letters and phone calls before they will actually try to gain possession of the property. But if it's from one of the companies that, you know, you took out the payday loan or a loan with your car title, it's going to be more difficult trying to redeem the property, because you will have to repay them all of what you owed them, plus any fees they expended in trying to collect the money from you.
Okay.
It's still difficult, but it's a little bit easier if it's from, you know, a car company